Now.
Live.
We're live.
Live.
All right, welcome to the final afternoon discussion, Run and Find Out, at the Trinity School for spring term. So those of you who don't know, we do year-round school. We are about to enter our summer break, which is in June. Then we will start our summer term, which will start after July 4th. So probably July 6th, I'm thinking. We shouldn't go to school the day after we stay up late doing fireworks.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that seems reasonable. So this is going to end our term and this week. My name is Luke Zedwick. On my left, I have Charlie and Lily. On my right, I have Jude and Max. And we also have he who shall not be named, the man in the chair who runs the live stream. Feel free to send him messages on the Facebook Live, and we'll also post this on YouTube at Luke Zedwick on YouTube, and you're probably seeing this on Facebook. Yeah. All right, so today we're going to continue or have a discussion that we gave a little preview of last week, and the question is, well, my first question is to tell a story leading up to it. So I want you to imagine yourself like a boat, not you and your body, but your soul. There's different kinds of boats, right? There's cruise ships and there's kayaks and there's sailboats. And, there's boats that can go into small places with just a few people. There's boats that can go fast and some that go slow. There's boats that have lots of people and turn very slowly, but have a lot of fun in doing it, right? And so people are kind of that way as well. But every boat, well, depending on its size, it needs to have something called integrity. The hull, which is the outer shell of the boat, it needs to keep the water out. Does that make sense? And the bigger the boat, the more important it is that it keep the water out, because the bigger the boat, the more people are on it. And some people bear a lot more responsibility in their lives, and so they have more need of that integrity, whereas some, especially when you're younger, it's not a ton of people relying on you. And so, you spring a leak, there's some flexibility on how to work that out. So my question is, what do you guys think about when you hear the word integrity? What do you think about when you hear the word integrity?
I think of boat.
You think of boat.
Yeah, pretty much.
But up until now, like if someone asked you if you have integrity, what would they be asking?
I don't really know that phrase.
Have you not heard the word?
No, I have.
Another synonym for integrity is character.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is character, and how do you know you have it?
Character, I would think it's like kind of how you act.
Okay.
It's like everybody has a certain like character, but
Okay, so separate from personality.
yeah.
Right? Your personality is not, it's neither strong nor weak. It's just who you are. But character, some people will say, they're lacking character.
I don't know exactly how I might define it, but an example of character might be the way you treat other people or the way you respond to conflict.
Okay, those are two
An
very
example you
big examples, right? So how you respond when someone's against you, is that what you mean by conflict? Or just when a disagreement? Yeah. And there's some people that, so when I think of how you treat people, I think of how do you treat people who are in authority over you versus how do you treat people that maybe they don't have any power over you, I've seen people, for example, be rude to like baristas at coffee shops or waiters at restaurants just because they want to and they don't care. But that same person might turn around to someone that has power over them and be very polite and so that, to me, that would show a lack of integrity.
Right.
There's like a gap there, that they're not the same person in every setting.
You're only going to show respect when you actually have to.
When you have something to gain from it, right? Yeah. You could describe integrity as, I remember the poster I saw when I first started teaching, character is what you do when no one is looking, right? And I like that idea because it illustrates the you want to be yourself no matter who you would impress or who you would offend. You are just speaking the truth that you understand it in a way that you would act, right? You're doing what you believe is right, whether anyone's looking or not. And so strength of character is the strength to do what's right when you would never get caught if you didn't, for example, right? Okay. One of the things I've also noticed is people who have a lack of character are the people who put on faces. That they don't have a set, kind of like a compass always points north, right? They don't have a compass. They just are letting whoever's around determine, right? Everybody's doing this. Okay, I'm going to do that too. Everybody's against that. Oh, I'm against that too. And so that, to me, that shows a lack of any real sense in yourself, like a deep conviction about what's right, what's good. Maybe you don't even believe in what's right and good. You just believe in what's an advantage to you, what makes your life better or more comfortable, or people like you, right? So how do we establish that? I mean, we all have gaps in our integrity, right? We all have areas where if no one's looking, it's more likely we're going to flex or break our own standards, even if we agree with them, when no one's around. Those, what do we call that? Weaknesses? Okay. So how do you build character?
Doing housework.
Doing housework. And would you
Chores.
sit a little closer? I'm going to move this up to you.
General chores works on your character.
Okay, tell me more about that. Why do you think that's true?
That was a joke.
Oh, it's a classic dad
Yes.
statement, though,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes, it is.
If you're miserable, you're building character.
Exactly.
Well,
Wherever
so-
the father is saving
Calvin
money.
and Hobbes.
One of the
dad.
reasons that people compromise their character is because they feel stressed out, right? And exhausted and overworked and I deserve. And so, to a little kid who stubs his toe, it might be the worst thing that's ever happened to him, to a 1-year-old. Because he's only one. Does that make sense? But if someone my age is crying over a stubbed toe, as if it's the worst thing that's ever happened to them,
It's almost definitely not.
it's a weakness of character. So suffering does build character. In fact, in the Bible, it even says that Christ himself was perfected through suffering, made mature, right? That Jesus grew up the way we grow up, which is weird to think about if he's the perfect person. In other words, it's not wrong. If he did no wrong and yet he still had to mature and he still had to suffer, it's not wrong to be immature. It's wrong to stay immature. All right, so the question I asked last week, before I get to that, I want to remind everybody that the Trinity School is expanding. We are looking for teachers who are interested in being part of what we're doing, even potentially in your own home, but maybe at the church where you attend, they have rooms that aren't being used during the school day. If you want to be part of what we're doing, the goal here is to provide an option for parents who are taking charge of their children's education. That, if you go to a public school, the public school is going to be in charge, and sometimes the wrong people are going to be in charge. If you send your kids then to a private school, well, you are kind of using the same system, but maybe a better version of it. And it's expensive. And some of what we do here is also expensive because people got to eat. But what we want to do is reinvent school based on a bunch of research-supported innovations. And one of those is year-round school. One of them is teaching way fewer total subjects because there's just way too much. In fact, if you listed all the things that teachers are required to teach in a year, it would be hundreds of pages printed out. And it's ridiculous. No teacher ever gets to them. They just pretend like it's happening. And the people who make those giant lists pretend like they happen too. But everybody knows and doesn't say is that it never does. And so we're going to stop wasting that amount of time, and we narrow things down to a brief menu of classes. And one of the cool things we're adding, and I talked to you guys about this just a little bit, is something called the arts, where we have writing about books and math and Spanish every day. That's our core daily classes. We have a day completely dedicated to practical sciences. But in the mix of those core daily classes is going to be time dedicated to practicing art forms of your choice, be it music or drawing or painting or other things. And what that'll allow us to do is build a schedule that can be a little more flexible, but it's going to be a self-determined class. So it's not going to be graded. It's not going to be a charge for it. If you want to be in the arts class, right, you don't have to pay for that because But what we are hoping for in the future is volunteers who want to come and give some instruction around different art forms that people in the community want to be part of.
So what are some of those things we've done already? We did some stuff in sciences over electronics and how electricity works, and then cooking.
Yeah.
We did,
Speaking of cooking, are
cooked
we?
like 4 different meals and then 2 different desserts in a day.
Yeah, and that's the fun thing about practical sciences is that it's always linked to something practical, if whether it's cooking or building things or how things work.
Are we gonna do cooking this Friday, or are we gonna continue?
We're not. We're going to continue with our agriculture unit and finish our chicken coop. We've got someone raising those little chicks for us, and they'll be here probably in the next 2 weeks. So we got to get our pen ready, and then we're going to talk about how to make compost and how things biodegrade. It's going to be kind of fun. All right, so if you're interested in being part of either volunteering for the arts, or if you're interested in supporting a student maybe who can't afford private school but needs support, parents who need support raising and teaching their kids, and you want to donate to that, reach out. That would be amazing because we want this to be available to kids who have disabilities, to parents who don't have money for private school, for people who need backup in raising and educating their kids. All right, so let's get back to the discussion. The question I talked about last week, or the metaphor that we were going to use, was a sports metaphor, right? That if you showed up to a football game, but you thought it was European-style football, that's going to go very differently for you in your shin guards and your soccer cleats compared to all the guys with helmets, face masks, and shoulder pads, right?
You're going to get
You're going to get, what was the word we used?
Obliterated.
Obliterated, sure. Okay, so there's an ethical idea there too, right? I was thinking about UFC. UFC as a sports, watching UFC, I tend to like watching it, but there's this point where it feels almost wrong to watch someone get brain damaged. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it feels like it's like I'm reveling in this form of violence that's inhumane. It's not always that way. There's definitely an artistry to it, but it gets there sometimes, and I get a little uncomfortable sometimes watching it. But I say all that to think, you could make the same metaphor with our integrity, with our ethics. That, okay, if we're in a world where people don't have a standard, they don't have a compass, they're always just trying to please the group that's around them that they think will make their life better. It's like they're playing football, American football, where it's rough and tumble and crashing into each other and head injuries and different things. Whereas if your standards, if your ethics don't allow you to play that way, is it just a different game? Or what's the limit? Do you guys see what I'm saying? Like, if lying is wrong, but yet you're trying to compete in a world where everybody is lying all the time, what's the point where you should say, that's it, I'm playing a different game, so in this game we lie, and that's just how it is.
or leave the game if you can.
Or leave the game. Okay, so where do you set your limit? Where do you set your integrity? I want you guys to answer that.
On lying or
Lying's a good example, yeah, because it's pretty straightforward, right? There's a lot of people, here's an example, there's a lot of people politically who are motivated to change society, and I put that in quotes because I don't know if we even agree on what that means, but they want to change society, and they're willing to lie to get their political ends accomplished.
right. It's a very common thing in politics.
It is quite common, yeah. So usually the one side that says don't lie, always tell the truth is the side that gets in trouble when they lie.
Because
The other side says, yeah, sometimes you lie, right? And so when they get caught, nobody really is that surprised by it
because they said.
because they said that's what they were going to do. But behind the scenes, it feels like everybody's actually lying and playing the same game. Part of the game is they pretend like they have different jerseys. Do you know what I mean? So what do we do? What do you do, like if you're in a public school, if you go back to a crowded classroom, there's some competitive kind of unethical stuff going on. People are
A little bit of power struggle.
struggling for power, for recognition. Who's the prettiest? Who's the smartest? Who's the strongest? Who's the best?
All of it.
Who gets the grade? Who gets the money? Who gets the girl? Right? All of that stuff is going on, and it's what goes on way beyond school. The adults are wrestling with all that same stuff. So how do you set your compass? What's it based on, and how does that apply to reality?
I mean, you might base your compass on your religion, it's your moral standard, right?
Well, I'm asking you, each of you individually. What do you do in that moment when people are doing something that you don't think is right, but if you don't go along with it, it's going to have consequences socially?
I'm trying to picture an example of this where it has happened before. So, the example I'm thinking of, or I'm sure this has happened quite a few times, but when the people you're around decide to do something that you know is wrong, and you have to either make them stop or leave and not be part of that, and then you might not be around those people ever again.
Right. Well, and part of why you have friendships with people is because you have things in common. You have fun together, which means you enjoy the same things, whatever they might be. But some people enjoy doing things that are not right, honestly. And so if you're not enjoying that, then it's going to be a block to your friendship, just by the definition of friendship. I've seen a lot of kids, and I think adults too, who pretend to enjoy things for the sake of being part. Yeah. I'll give you a funny example, right? I think beer tastes gross. There's a rare moment where it's a hot day and a cold beer, it tastes good, but 90% of the time it's just gross. I just don't like it. And there have been times where I hang out with other men who think beer is really tasty, and they give me beer, and I drink it and hang out with them, and oh yeah, it's good, you know? But I don't actually think it's good. And so am I lying? Am I just kind of like trying to fit in? You know, that's kind of a silly example. I'm not saying that I'm trying to get drunk to fit in. I'm saying I just don't enjoy the taste. I would rather have a glass of whiskey, or I'd rather have a hard cider. Do you see what I'm saying? But some people get way into beer, so then you're like, oh, I'll get into it a little bit. Like, how many times do we get interested in things, but really it's that we have a friend who's really into it, and it sort of draws us in.
No.
Like, oh, they really like this music. And so, yeah, I kind of like that music too. But as soon as your friendship fades with them, and maybe you guys haven't experienced this, because, you know, as you grow, your friendships change and vary based on location and who's near you. But as you distance from that friend, you realize, I didn't actually care about that music or that thing, that activity. I was just drawn into it. Maybe I was pretending, or maybe I was just excited because they were excited. You know what I mean? It's all this, it's never simple. Well, sometimes it is. But you can always convince yourself that there's a good reason why you're twisting your own standards too. That's the thing you have to be careful of. To match theirs, to fit in. Yeah.
Be part of that group.
And being part of the group is not unhealthy, right? We are a social species. Humans are not meant to be alone, to live alone, okay? Okay, so Jude, you talked about religion. Max, Charlie, Lily, how does religion influence your compass as far as what people are doing around you? How often does it? Do you think, or maybe religion's not the right word, maybe it's a set morality. Do you know what I mean? Like, I really think that's wrong, and no matter who does it, I'm going to think it's wrong, and I'm not going to go along with it. We all have some of those things, right? But how do people end up doing some of those things? It's they inch toward them. So how do you set your compass? Or maybe what's an example? Have you ever thought, whoa, I'm not going to be part of this? Has that ever happened?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, what was that like?
Almost every time that's ever happened, and I think the question was meant for that because I already spoke, but it's when I'm with a group of teenagers who are doing something and I'm like, no, maybe we shouldn't be doing this.
So what do you do in that
Maybe we
situation?
shouldn't be. Well, you tell them to stop, and then when they inevitably don't, you leave.
Okay, does it have to be in that order?
I mean, like, I was able to get a few people to stop doing stuff, you know,
Yeah.
that they weren't supposed to. I mean,
And were there
don't
social
say
repercussions? What happened socially
stop.
after
No,
that?
I just convinced them to go and do something else.
Oh, so you didn't say this is wrong, don't do it. You just said,
No,
hey,
I
what
did.
if we did something
I
else?
said, hey guys, let's not do this because we might get in trouble.
getting-
So let's go do something else.
Right. And get in trouble is not the same motivation as this isn't right. You guys know that, right? Getting in trouble is saying people in authority will be mad at us.
Right. It's the same as being nice to the authority above you, the higher power, and not nice to like a barista.
And that's not a bad motivator. Like if getting a ticket is what convinces you to not go 100 miles an hour, well, that's potentially someone's life is saved because you were afraid to have to pay a fine, right? So that's fine. But if you actually realize what could happen by like how the risks are increased and what's right and what's wrong and how you're putting other people at risk by that driving behavior, right? Maybe that's a higher motivation. I don't know. More pure. Are there more pure, some motivations more pure than others?
I would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, like motivation of love might be the grandest, right? That you actually love people enough to not do the thing you want to do. Okay. Lily, can you think of any times where you've sort of had to back away from what a group of people were doing?
Maybe being in a group that wants to do something but leaving because they aren't actually ever doing it, and that's what I came there to do, like for a hobby or something.
Oh, yeah. So in that case, were the people just all chatting and not actually doing the thing, or what? Like, how did that work?
Partially, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you mean like they said they were going to do something and then you all showed up and nothing actually happened?
I think so, yeah.
Or like someone instigated?
Like we would talk about doing stuff, but then we never actually did it. And I really want to be a part of that group because it sounds fun and it's something that I want to do. But then after a certain point, if they're just being hard to find time to do things with, and like they're being hard to find a time to go do something, then it's like after a certain point, it's like I can't waste my time with that if we're not.
Yeah,
doing
yeah. I've been to functions like that too. Charlie, what are you thinking? How do you handle the social pressure, and how does it influence your behavior?
Whenever that comes up, I most of the time just stop hanging out with them.
Sit close to it.
If that happens, and then it happens repeatedly, then I stop hanging out with them. But if it happens once, I just try and avoid that subject, and then avoid doing that again. And then if it does come up again and they do it again, then I just stop.
Yeah. Now, here's something that might apply to you more, Charlie. I've had friendships where when I was around a certain person, I just got into a mood where I kind of wanted to do things I shouldn't. Do you ever find yourself that way? Where it's when certain people are around, it's it's not hyper, but maybe it is, where it's pushing boundaries. This person pushes boundaries and I kind of like it when they're around, and so I do it too. And then when they leave, you're like, oh, I kind of said some things I shouldn't have said. And that's not the same as peer pressure. It's almost the two of you combined created a bad influence on each other. I don't know. Maybe that's all it is.
It's pressuring yourself to do it, because then you'll look cooler.
Well, and it's almost, I think that's part of it. In my experience, when that's been the case, yeah, sometimes I'm trying to look cool. And so maybe that person, I really admire them, so I'm trying to get them to notice me. But what I was thinking more of is when this person's around, we both act dumb together. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying?
It's like Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah. Maybe.
It's
Well,
who can do this?
it's
thing? Who can jump
it's
off the highest cliff?
Dumbest and Dumbest. It's
There was a
you're
point
kind of
where
even.
mom started noticing particular people, and she's like, why are you like that when he's around? I don't know, it's just fun. But I had to ask myself that too. It's okay, well, is that who I really am if I'm never that way around others? Or am I shielding that part of myself away? This dawned on me the other day, is how often do I actually just let loose and have a ton of fun? Not a lot, right? As an adult, most of my life is kind of serious.
We need to go to Get Air again.
Yeah, Get Air is a good example of that. That's really fun.
Yeah, actually.
Just gotta wait 2 weeks.
But
A couple hours of driving.
but how much of that is that I have created this version of myself that pushes that out, and maybe I'm not being completely myself. What do you think, Max? Is there different versions of you when you're around different people?
I've kind of worked towards getting the same thing around a bunch of people.
Uh-huh.
But when I'm alone, I'm definitely not doing as much as when I'm around people. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so here's an example. Is there like a goofy and free to do goofy things version of you that you turn it off in a lot of settings?
Not really.
I feel like I'm that way. I feel like most people are that way. And so part of that is this kind of what I was saying earlier about if a grown man is crying over a stub toe. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, I have to mature. And so our version of maturity is like we don't have as much fun or we don't goof around.
I was talking to some kids about this yesterday, about how they act, the way they act, and even the way they try to look at school versus when they're just hanging out with their friends is incredibly different.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it's like they were talking about even the expressions they make when they're around different people is different.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
Some of that happens when you don't even notice it as well.
Right.
And that's not to say you shouldn't, like dressing is a good example, right? If I go to a wedding, I'm going to dress differently than when I'm just here at school. Yeah. And that's not me pretending to be someone else. There's part of that is paying respect to the situation.
Right.
Formality.
Yeah. And school can be that way. It can be a little more formal. Paying respect to the school and the teachers and the process of learning, that it's serious.
And that's why some schools have uniforms. Like,
That is true, yeah.
but well,
That's why I had a
it's-
uniform for myself when I was principal.
It's normally not like
Did you know that,
public
Lily?
schools.
No, but
It's-
that makes sense. Like if you just stick to a certain style. But I don't know if it was. I don't know in your case if it was just a certain style you wear for school or if it was actually like a uniform.
It's the same outfit.
Like I went and I found pants that fit me and I bought 4 pairs of them.
Oh, so like
And then
the
I
same
went-
colors and everything.
The same 4 of the exact same pants.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, like,
And then I
5
did the same with the
shirts.
shirt.
Okay.
And every time I got new shoes, it was the same red Adidas. So I have like 3 pairs of red
The thing that
Adidas.
immediately
Yeah.
comes to mind is Free Guy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
same idea.
it was the same outfit actually.
You had it first,
It
though.
was almost
That's
that.
right.
So now-
Ryan Reynolds looks up to me in a lot of ways, I think.
Yeah, but I remember one year you were like trying to buy a new pair of those red shoes and you could not for the life of you find
He
any.
wanted some that were running shoes. that had
Yeah.
the same-
Yeah. So I love like getting
Well-
things down to one, right? So it's like, okay, if there one pair of shoes that I could just have one. And so I could run in them, I could do work in them, I could wear them to occasions, you know.
You were able
my dogs
to
are
you were
for-
able to
I
find
only wear
some.
my dogs.
Yeah, but you wouldn't go running in your Doc Martens.
You were
When
you-
I was in PE in seventh and 8th grade, I ran in my docs, and it didn't bother me. We would like run for a few minutes every day as a warm up. Sometimes a mile. I would just run in my docs because it didn't bother me because they fit my feet so well.
But you did end
Why
up
would you
finding
buy
a
shoes
pair,
that you
but
wouldn't
that
wear?
were like $100,
purpose of the
$200.
Yeah, I never did get them. It wasn't worth it. I just had to.
Just have shoes that you use, you know?
Yeah, the only
Just
way
whatever.
I could justify buying expensive shoes like my docs are if they're good quality and you're gonna wear them for a long time. They're gonna last a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really only have 2 kinds of shoes. Well, 3 kinds of shoes that I wear: normal shoes, boots, and sandals. And I'm missing boots.
I just
What do
wear
you use
sandals and
boots for?
shoes.
Mud.
Oh, yeah. We have some snow boots somewhere.
I just
Yeah,
wear
well,
sandals.
Most of them are on the deck and are kind of soggy on the inside at all
What are you wearing
days.
right now?
I just
Oh,
wear
perfect.
sandals and shoes. I'm not wearing
No
any shoes
shoes,
right now.
yeah.
And no shoes. No shoes is kind of my
That's
substitute for like a mud day.
All right,
Yeah.
so let's draw it back to our question and see if we can wrap this up. The main question there was, what is the compass? What is your compass? How do you know what's right and what's wrong?
I think a lot of what you learn is right and what is wrong is what your parents instill in you.
Okay.
Is how they raise you. Like if they raise you to say, hey, that's not good, then you'll be able to recognize it rather than if they don't tell you something's not good, then you might not be able to recognize it and you'll make your moral compass.
Well, and a lot of parents are teaching you based on the mistakes they made, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you asked your parents, did you ever do the thing that you're telling me not to do? Every parent on earth would say yes.
Yeah.
And part of it is I did that and learned that life was worse when I did it, when I acted that way.
It's like
So why
learning
don't
from your
you
mistakes.
Well, it's learning from your parents' personal life.
Don't let your children do things that makes you hate them.
Yeah.
Dislike them.
Yes.
Yeah. No,
Hate
but it's
or
not just disliking them. I'm talking about there are things we do that we realize create pain, right? Oh, somebody's getting a phone call
That's you.
in one of our cameras. All right, so
If you listen.
just hit ignore, you guys. You can just hit the red button.
No.
Wait, can you?
It's
I
a
just
party.
did. And it's not gonna.
It's a funny like vibration thing.
Is that mine?
You can hit the side button, the power button.
Oh, yeah, stop.
There you go. Now have a seat.
Incredible.
All right, so I want to finish with this, okay? I want to share this idea.
That was mine.
So one of the names that people have for God is the Father in heaven, right? And this idea is that if you took the lessons your parents have learned, and then you took the lessons that their parents learned, and that all the parents have learned over time, and you combine them into one kind of like Father of all, you might find...
You're getting taller, you should probably answer it.
It's Max's phone.
Maybe later.
It stopped.
Okay. You might find that this idea that there's sort of like a father above all the fathers. Does that make sense? And you see certain things that in every culture that's connected well to the past, which our culture is not.
No.
So every culture that honors their fathers, and the word fathers doesn't just mean their literal physical fathers, but they honor the lessons of the past within their culture, right? Sometimes cultures will talk about their ancestors is another word. Not to worship ancestors, which some people do, but to think and look at them with some reverence and say, the lessons they learned apply to me, that it's not some modern and different world. And so we don't need those lessons anymore, which I think is the definition of foolishness. And so you begin to see that if you were to just look at the lessons that the fathers have learned when they were at their best, you get this idea of a good father. It's not hard to imagine, and we've all experienced when our fathers were not good, because everyone has times when they do wrong, right? But if you could just take the good, the lessons, the truth, maybe you'd get that truth to become like a capital T truth of where goodness might be at its root. And that becomes a compass that you see, for example, in every major religion, a series of moral ideas that just work everywhere. You see a series of stories that carry on and are passed down that people say, yeah, that story, it really matters to us, right? And many of those stories are written in the Bible. And the Bible in terms of religious books is quite unique in the fact that it has so many different authors over so many centuries. So it literally is a collection.
It's a library.
A collection of trying over centuries to understand what this good Father in heaven really is like, and then trying to live out that goodness, maybe trying to live up to the goodness that he expects. And that compass could guide you in anything, because every problem you encounter, every problem you will ever encounter, millions of people have encountered it before, right? Not to say like, oh, like because we have iPhones, now everything's different. Some things are different, but the temptations and the struggles and the hurts, they're the same. They don't change over time. That's the idea of connecting to God, to a good Father. Any thoughts on that? Could that be your compass?
Cyberbullying is just bullying, but cyber.
That's deep, bro. That's deep. It's true, though. Plus, the word cyber is ridiculous. Cyberbullying is just bullying with computers. Yeah.
What about
true.
Cybertruck? Is it just a truck?
Cybertrucks, no, that's a different world. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
If they ever exist, we'll see if they ever
Yeah,
actually
they
make
probably
it.
won't.
yeah.
They really won't.
Same with the Tesla
really doubt
Rover.
it.
All right.
Roadster.
Roadster.
Same thing.
All right. Anything to add
No,
on the
Rover
thing we
for
were
Mars.
actually talking about?
Nope.
All right.
Moral compass.
Moral compass.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys come up with more, we'll come back. This will be a topic we revisit because it's pretty important, and it feels like it's more important, especially as what seems like our culture is going through this war, right? Culture war.
Yeah.
And so everything is a little uncertain around what's right and wrong. And it's going to get worse before it gets better. That's my prediction. But in order for us to do well through it, we need to have something that we can stand on and rely on. And so we need to look to a good father. All right, with that, let's wrap it up. This has been Run and Find Out. My name is Luke Zedwick, and this is a part of the Trinity School. Yeah, I hope it helps. See you in a few weeks after our break. We'll be back for summer term.
We didn't ask our beginning question. Goodbye.